Star Wars Trend Chat now. And welcome to a Star Wars edition of Trend Chat. And actually, we don't have time for the pleasantries that we normally go through. And we're going to have to cut straight to the chase because we have a two-parter talking about Star Wars. And we're going to play the first part right now. And then we're going to go to part two tomorrow. So we talked with my friend Patricia Embry. And we had a lengthy discussion about Star Wars basically all through the episodes, and we'll talk about the one that's coming out this week on tomorrow. But we're going to talk about the first episode 1 through 5. Actually, we're going to go through all of them. And so, like I said, we don't have much time, and we only have we actually had over an hour and a half. So even what you're hearing now had to be edited down. You know, when you get Star Wars fans together, I'm telling you, it can go on for hours upon hours, and it could have, but I knew I had to stop somewhere. So anyway, let's get straight to it. Like I said, we're talking with Patricia Embry, and we're just going to start off with having her kind of explain what she's doing as far as her involvement with Turning Point USA and what she's doing in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So without further ado, here we go with Star Wars.
I work mainly within Tarrant County, Texas. I actually am the president of Next Gen Young Republicans, and I am the communications director for Tarrant County Young Republicans. But all in all, I am the director. I'm the chair of youth outreach for Tarrant County. So I'm a woman of many hats.
Yes. So
we've been working with a lot of Turning Point groups, especially like UNT. They've been having a lot of issues on campus, so just giving them as much support as we can.
On top of that, you also are a fan of Star Wars.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I did say I didn't have any questions. You know what? Actually, I lied. I do have one question that I did write down. I wrote down one question. Everything else is off the top of my head. So when did you start watching Star Wars?
My parents and my brother. Probably my brother was the biggest influence. He's 8 years older than me, so he kind of forced my taste, if you will. So he forced me in front of the TV and made me watch everything I didn't want to, and then eventually I got into it. So I watched like the originals, and then I remember when I was a lot younger, he took me actually to the movie theater. And we went and we saw the actual prequels and things like that. So, it's something that is near and dear to my heart because it's something we did together. And so I love the story, but it also has good memories behind it. Now,
like I said, this is going to be kind of like, pretty much your typical conversation. Now, I know we've talked before about these prequels. And, that's a touchy subject between Star Wars fans. I have my views on it, and you had yours. I'm pretty sure we're going to get into that later on. So at first you weren't into it, but I guess when you got older, was it a lot older, or was it just pretty soon after watching the first time?
I got into it after watching A New Hope. It's kind of like when I really got, I was young. I was probably about 5 maybe. And then I was still young when the prequels came out. I'm 21, so it was, when did those come out? I'm trying to think, I know one came out early 2000s, right?
Yeah, well, it may have been in 99, but I think it was early 2000.
I remember he took me to see that one. I think the one that came out kind of late 90s, and then definitely I remember going to see the one in the early 2000s,
So were you in those long lines back then? Because, we don't have Fandango and all that. So were you able to have to stand in hour-long lines and all that?
Well, I was thankfully young enough. I was carried in the long line. I was held, but I was still young enough. I could suck up to my brother, and he would like put me on a piggyback. So I didn't, for me it was fun. For him, I'm sure it was miserable. But definitely. I remember I grew up out in Granbury actually. So it was like, and this was back before it was all developed. So there was like one lone, like I think it was an AMC theater that everybody went to, and it was just like a long line that was like wrapped around the building, and it was fantastic.
Yeah, I have a story about that too. So I went to see episode 1, and me and a friend of mine went, and this movie theater was opening the night. It was opening night for the movie theater, and the first movie they were going to show in this brand new theater was Star Wars: The Phantom Menace. And I remember we got there probably around 2 or 3 o'clock, and it was. I'm pausing because I could see it right now. We pulled up to the movie theater, and all we saw was like a sea of people standing literally in the road behind the theater.
Yeah, it was a deal when this came out. I remember like the speculation of like what the story would be, and how the actors would do, especially compared to the originals.
Mm-hmm.
They had a lot to live up to. Now, whether it actually lived up to it, that once again, as you said, is matter of debate.
You know what? It's funny. We was there for the 12 o'clock, but we actually got there too late because there was already too many people in front of us. So we actually had to wait till 3 o'clock in the morning to watch watch it, because they didn't anticipate so many people. I don't know why they didn't, but they sold out the 12 o'clock and the 2 o'clock like in a snap, and so they opened up some more showings, which were the show at 3 o'clock in the morning and 5 o'clock in the morning. And so we were already in town. And like, well, let's go ahead and get the ticket. So we just, I don't remember getting much sleep. We almost fell asleep before the movie started. That would have sucked because we were up so long. but we got a chance to watch it. So now, given I just talked about, this whole thing with the Phantom Menace, let's go ahead and just talk about the big elephant in the room about these prequels. And everyone has their opinions about it, and for the most part, most don't have a favorable opinion of the prequels. I'm not so much, but I want to let you give your grievances about these prequels.
Okay, so I'm not an all-out hater. I think it could have been done better. I think the actors chosen were a very bad choice. I think the creators themselves actually said the only reason Natalie Portman and Hayden Christensen were chosen were because they looked cute together. So I think that boils down to the performance. I think my opinion on the prequel kind of boils down to actually a line. I think it was in Clone Wars when Anakin is in Tatooine with Padme, and they're by the water, and he goes, "The sand is, I hate sand, it's coarse, and it's irritating, and it gets everywhere," and that's how I feel about those movies, That's I was like, that is the first thing we've agreed about this entire time, Anakin. Great.
Yeah. I'm laughing because I know that's what you were going to say.
And I think that just sums up the acting of the prequels as well. Just that one scene. There's the deleted scenes that also weren't shown, which I think should have been. Like, I'm one of those people. I will sit as long as I need to in a theater if it really fleshes out the story, because there are whole scenes when Padme introduced Anakin to her parents and to her sister, and it just made the whole thing make more sense, like their whole relationship. I just feel like the relationship wasn't fleshed out enough. It was kind of like they were supposed to be together, so they were. Yeah,
and you know what? That tends to be the case on a lot of movies where, especially if you come across and see some of these deleted scenes, and you're like, and especially if it's a lot of them, sometimes there may be like 1 or 2 that they'll release, but sometimes they'll release like 10 or 12 or something like that, and you'll see, like, okay, half of those should have been in, because that made the story make more sense. And well, I don't want to jump off, but a quick aside on Justice League, because I feel like there are some deleted scenes in Justice League that probably would have made it a lot better. And I feel like the only reason they brought down the time to 2 hours is because of Batman vs Superman was so long, and they didn't want it to seem like it was just be another long movie. But I think
Batman and Superman, and they didn't put enough Wonder Woman in. If they would have put more Wonder Woman in, Batman versus Superman would have been a whole lot better.
Okay,
that's the whole reason we wanted to see it. Let's be honest.
Okay, see now, well, you need to tell the people why, because you have your bias, so you need to tell your bias about Wonder Woman.
I have a great love of Gal Gadot and her awesomeness, and she's Israeli. She was in the IDF. She is a great human being. Yes, okay, I'm biased, all right? But it's true.
Well, I don't blame you. I mean, I just want you to admit it. That's all. I mean,
yes, I have a small girl crush on Gal.
Now, like I said, I don't want to, delve off into that, but I just feel like they didn't have confidence in telling the story, and more thinking about the criticism for having a movie that might turn out to be 2.5 hours long because they didn't want to have the same backlash.
The universe really is I feel like they're trying to live up to Marvel, and they're cutting out the best scenes. Like they did the same thing in what was it?
I said Suicide Squad. That's the one.
Suicide Squad. That's what I'm thinking. They did the same thing in Suicide Squad. They cut out a bunch of really good scenes, and I heard the reason they did that was actually because Will Smith insisted on having top billing, so they had to cut out a lot of the Margot Robbie scenes, which we all know Margot Robbie carried the movie.
Yeah.
And the second, and it was the same thing. It's interesting because the female characters in the DC universe that they've shown so far that have been amazing, and the actresses they've chosen have been spectacular, and they just lighten up the whole story. They make it interesting. Same thing happened with Wonder Woman. They just didn't add enough of her. But that's why I kind of enjoy Justice League a little bit more, is because it had plenty of Wonder Woman, but it just didn't quite flow.
Yeah.
There was that explosion. There's explosions, and I'm like, where did this come from? Like, what led up to this? And I finally Googled it, and I was reading that, like, the producers and everyone had to cut all these scenes, and if it was in, it would have made more sense. And I'm like, that's about right.
Now, I can talk about this forever too, but I know one thing as far as
we can just divulge into a whole sci-fi superhero genre.
Yeah, I mean, because we were talking about the Phantom Menace, and so I guess we can go in order. Now, the second one, like I've mentioned, the whole prequels in general kind of get a bad rap. But if someone come to me talking about episode 2, I'm like, look, I'm with you. I don't like it either. That's the one I can't stand. And I'll put it to you this way: when The Force Awakens came out, they did a marathon. They show all the movies, and then they showed The Force Awakens, and I was at that marathon, and I watched the first one.
A long marathon.
Yeah, we're talking 23 hours at the movie theater.
Ooh.
Yeah, so and now when episode 1 came on, all right, fine, I watched it, and I was good. As soon as episode 2 came on, I tell you, I think I went to sleep about an hour in that movie.
Go get some popcorn and
no, I was
relaxing.
I was catching a nap because I knew I had a long day ahead of me. So I'm going to take a nap right here because that's just something I don't care about the Clone Wars at all. Not the Clone Wars, Attack of the Clones, but that's my view of it. So I don't know if you like it any more or less.
I mean, I love Samuel L. Jackson. I thought he was great.
I honestly don't remember.
It's one of, yeah, you probably don't. You just glossed over.
Probably so.
Well, he was the guy that you see with the awesome purple lightsaber.
Oh no, I'm talking about in episode 2. I cannot remember. I don't remember any lines.
He wasn't in it. Like, I thought the part where, after they come out of the tunnel and there's the whole, arena scene and the clones come, I thought that was really great.
Yeah, okay.
Like, there's a lot of people, I feel like, that didn't get the screen time they deserved. Like, The Phantom Menace was the same thing. I feel like I would have loved to have seen Obi-Wan Kenobi's story or just something from him, except, all we saw was a few minutes of him on the ship. I think, all in all, it came out to maybe, 8 minutes of screen time, I feel like, for most of the movie. They ran back to the ship and, Anakin and him have a little bit of a conversation, and that was it, and I was disappointed.
Yeah, well, I guess because it was basically focused on Qui-Gon Jinn, Liam Neeson's character. So he was, taking up most of the time. But I see I can see what you mean by that. I mean, especially there's two things when it comes to episode 1 that definitely stick out to me that I like about it is the power race and the fight with Darth Maul at the end, which hurt me that he actually died in episode 1.
See, we waited 16 years for the return of Star Wars, right? Mm-hmm. And I mean, what did we really get out of it? We got some political intrigue. We got some. We got Jar Jar Binks.
Oh.
I mean,
when we're talking about
that was probably the worst part of the entire series, and I don't understand whose idea that was.
So there's basically two characters that stick out when it comes to these prequels, as far as everyone's focus of their disdain when it comes to, episode 1, 2 through 3, is Jar Jar Binks and Anakin. More so Jar Jar Binks.
Yep. Well, I mean, even the little kid was dry. I'm like, you couldn't find a kid with a little bit more either acting chops or spunk. I mean, I didn't feel it, I didn't get the Anakin feel that he just felt very detached from the character, if anything. And I understand he's a child, and I'm being very critical. I know that, but I'm a fan, so it's kind of my job to be overly critical, even if it is of children. He's grown now, so it's fine. He's an adult. Yeah, I just feel like things could have been fleshed out more. I mean, I feel like and Liam Neeson is one of those people who can do no wrong for me. But even, I feel like his character could have been done a little better. I feel like the writing could have been maybe a little bit better. I felt like he was almost a little dry as well. I don't know if you agree, but I just feel like the characters, they were trying, they knew writers knew where they wanted to go. It just kind of fell flat, Yeah.
I mean, looking back at it now, I feel like there was missing pieces. I don't know. I did like Liam Neeson's character, but I liked Ewan McGregor better as far as his portrayal of Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I know one thing that I came across, that they were actually thinking of doing an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie, so to come out in 2020. So I guess if Ewan McGregor plays in it, he might play like an older Obi-Wan in maybe a flashback, but I doubt he'll be the main actor that would be cast for that. But I did like how he...
And that's iffy for me, Like, once you've established a character like that, especially we've seen him young, you can't... I feel like it's really going to be difficult to switch to a new face, It's I'm going to be watching it, and I'm going to be like, this isn't Obi-Wan. I feel like that's like there's a danger there. I mean, I definitely will see it because Obi-Wan is one of my favorite characters. His whole backstory. I think you were saying you didn't read really the books or the graphic novels or anything, but his whole backstory, training as a Jedi and everything is really interesting.
I know that where they're looking to go is between episodes 3 and 4 for the movie. I guess let me ask you this. Now, about the Han Solo movie that's coming out, I think, next year. So do you feel the same way?
I have heard about it.
Yeah, do you feel the same way about that? Because it's not going to be Harrison Ford.
Can we get some CGI or something? I mean, Harrison Ford that's Han Solo. the character. He is iconic. You can't just, I mean, you know what I mean? They have to get somebody who is excellent. Like, I know in that movie he did, The Age of Adeline, they chose an actor that looked and had a lot of the same mannerisms as him. So if they do something like that, maybe. I don't think it'll be super popular just because Han Solo is iconic in such a way that nobody can replace Harrison Ford. But I'm definitely into it, and I will definitely watch it. It'll just be interesting how they execute it, you know, because that's going to be hard shoes to fill.
You know, I'm pretty much guessing that Harrison Ford is going to make a cameo, like at the end, you know, after everything has happened, and they've, you know, fast forwarded.
So?
I'm just guessing that they're going to, you know, everything's going to happen, and at the end they're just going to show him, you know, right when he shows up in wherever in A New Hope, wherever he shows up. I forget where he first appears in the movie, but I can see them like ending it there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I see where you're coming from. Yeah.
Kind of like how they did Rogue One.
I don't know if you meant. I didn't know if you meant like they would bring like Harrison Ford for a cameo somehow, like a flash forward or something.
Well, like that.
Yeah, because I know that Harrison Ford, I think he's done with the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
And he has to be killed off. So, I mean.
Oh no, what I'm saying, I was just saying they'll probably do it kind of like how they did.
Those who haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I mean, like I have said a number of times, this is a Star Wars episode, so obviously there are going to be spoilers in here.
Well, I mean, if you haven't seen the newest Star Wars yet, I mean, you've been living under a very insulated rock, and I'm impressed. That would be very impressive.
You'll be surprised who hasn't seen it. Now,
well, I apparently I might have just ruined somebody's entire day. Sorry.
Now, yeah, I kind of could see them doing kind of like in Rogue One, how Rogue One ended. That they can do the same thing for in this, you know, Han Solo movie, where they basically just show where it kind of leads up to where they appear in a New Hope. And I feel like they may do the same thing. Maybe, I don't know. You know what? As I mentioned, we could talk about this forever. But we're only at episode 3. Episode 3 for me, it's one of my favorites. I'll say, okay, I know this might upset you. It might upset some people that are listening, but it's actually one of my favorites of all of them. Is episode 3.
What?
Which, now, let me say.
Blasphemy.
Let me say.
Your Star Wars, fandom privileges are wrong. Oh,
now, Return of the Jedi is like,
because
it's right there.
Back, I'm just putting this out there, is the best one. Just putting that out there. Go ahead.
Oh, which one you said? Which one? Empire Strikes Back. Yeah.
It's for sure the best.
You know what? I think a lot of people mention Empire Strikes Back only because of what happened, you know, of that one scene. That's really what carrying that movie. That's what I think. Yeah, it's funny that I'm actually saying it like I'm trying not to spoil it or something. Even though we talk about movie over 30.
We're not saying it, but that's probably the most iconic line in film history.
Yeah, but I think that's what people are kind of making much of it off of just one line. I think it's now. Don't get me wrong. People might be hearing this and I'm trashing the whole movie. No, I like the movie. What I'm saying is that it's not that much better than the rest of them, but it just has that one line and everything else.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not convincing you.
The surprise of it more than the line. No one saw coming that they were father and son. If you saw that coming, I need to meet you and we need to have a long conversation and you need to explain to me how you figured this out before everybody else. Because that is, and I need you to predict the next presidential one. You need to come and tell us who was winning everything, because that was I feel like that was a movie mystery that nobody saw coming. And if you predict, because I think I heard that somebody out there in the world did predict it, and I was like, dang. Because most people didn't read, the comics.
Yeah.
and all that. So no one really knew where it was going. But I think as far as Revenge of the Sith goes, I mean, I thought the ending was a little lame. You know, like the whole Padme scene, that was, after having her in Attack of the Clones as this strong person, I feel like they weakened her. Like, she was a senator. She was a queen. And now she's a housewife waiting for Anakin to come home from his missions, okay? And I'm not saying that far, but, like, they changed her character. And she, you know, I was on with her that whole movie. Well, she was like a pretty doll that they made.
Well, remember, well, she was pregnant, you know, in that movie too.
That doesn't mean she's like, no, she can't kick some booty, you know.
But she did. I mean, she did something. It's not. I mean, it's not like she didn't do.
She died.
Yeah, spoiler alert. Yeah, she died, y'all.
And you know what is interesting though? I have a new respect for episode 3 because I researched Ron, and because to me, growing up, because that happened in like 2008, so I was still on, you know, I was in my teenage years, and I was thinking to myself, she just died. Like the robot lady delivering her kids was like, you know, we don't know what's wrong with her. It's like she's lost the will to live. And I was like, seriously? Because your husband went to the... Really? You're stronger than that. You're a better character than that. And then I actually did the research, and it's from what I understand, I don't think this is a spoiler, but this will kind of come out with, I think this might come out in the new movie, more about like the, you know, I forget his name off the top of my head, but the really old, mysterious, that was like Palpatine's master.
Oh,
that taught him, you know, how to... Snoke, yes, that's what I think of, Snoke. So it was the same idea behind Snoke. Snoke, you know, apparently had a family that, you know, and the dark side of the Force allowed, you know, his life to be longer. So apparently that's what happened is Anakin, through the Force, drains the life out of Padme. So it was a mini Snoke moment there. And that was like, oh... That makes so much more sense. Doesn't it, though, than just, like, her dropping dead?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so...
Yeah. So that gave me a new respect.
Yeah, so... Well, I guess to go on to the next episode, but, yeah, that's kind of how I felt about it. I liked it, and, I mean, I liked it a lot, obviously.
It was your favorite. You can say it again. It's fine. We're not judging. It's fine.
We're not judging. You just said it was blasphemy like a couple of minutes ago.
Well, you know what? You know, I did say I had a newfound respect. You know, so it's cool. It's cool.
Oh, did I convince you in like the past 5 minutes?
You are that influential. You are. I'm telling you, your podcast is changing my life.
Now
you see things in a whole new way.
Yeah, well, you know, if I have that much influence, I need to move on to the political sphere, like, you know, get up to DC. Now, episode 4, I mean, that's A New Hope, and that's the one. It is funny in saying like episode 1 through 3 and then 4, but then as far as like when these movies were released, is like trying to for someone that doesn't, like, for a Star Wars fan to talk to someone who is has no clue about Star Wars, you can confuse someone real quick right now. It's fun because it's.
Oh yeah, no, I feel like my whole explanation of episode 3 with that ending, I feel like I just confused everybody. I feel like I didn't explain it well enough. Like there was a whole thing to it. You have to read about it. Like there's a whole backstory in there that isn't presented, and there's I don't think people like. I don't know if people realize that you have to watch, that the prequels are prequels, and it's a confusing manga. It is.
Yeah, I talked to my dad. Sure. Like if I talk to my dad about Star Wars, because like he's probably the most casual Star Wars fan. Because I can't say he's a fan. He's a Star Wars watcher, I guess, in a way. And to the point that, like, if even he gets confused. Like, episode 1 is it's the first episode, but it's the first one that came out. That was episode 4. It didn't go back. So, but yeah, And even to this day, he'll get confused about it. But like everyone knows about this one. This is the one that came out in '79, and
Mm-hmm.
and well, I wasn't born then at that time, so I didn't see it, and I really don't know when I watched that one. I probably was older, probably. Yeah, I know I got on VCR somewhere, I'm guessing, but I've watched it I don't know how many times since, and it's still one of the best movies just movies, not just whether we're talking about sci-fi or whatever. I just like everything about it with Princess Leia, Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, and all, and yeah. So I get that's all I have.
I'm just saying you might have to rewind and explain to some of your younger listeners what a VCR is.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Not DVD either.
Because I was impressed that you still have one. I think I might have one out in the garage somewhere. But,
I'm not saying I have one.
Running, like party at your house.
Yeah. I'm not saying I have one. I'm just saying that well, you know what? I might have the tape though. I think I do still have the tape.
Ooh.
I just don't know where.
We can authentically watch that way. The nostalgia of it all. As long as the tape is not ruined. Yeah,
and I had to get a VCR too, so.
I can probably provide a VCR. We can make this work. But A New Hope was. I feel like the actors were still coming into their own. Because when I watch movies, I definitely watch it with both sides of my brain. I really get into it and I watch the story, but I also am thinking about the actors and their portrayal, especially if it's based on something. So whether it's like a previous movie, like it's a sequel, or it's a book or something of that nature, I'm always comparing, and I feel like, especially Lucas, I don't feel like he had pinned down the specifics of the characters yet. But that's still one of my favorite Star Wars for me. Darth Vader saying the force strangulation, of the Admiral and seeing Chewbacca and the Millennium Falcon, of course. Seeing the turret gun scene.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's probably one of my favorite scenes actually, in A New Hope. I just really love those scenes with the Millennium Falcon and all that.
Well, let me ask this: how did you watch? So you watched in order all the Star Wars movies. Did you watch it a lot of people did? Started with 4 and then saw the prequels.
Okay, I'm trying to think back. I think so. I remember I went to see A New Hope. I can't confirm The Empire Strikes Back, but I can say for A New Hope. That's one of the first ones I saw. So I might have watched them out of order. I might have saw A New Hope before I saw Empire Strikes Back, which, in my young mind probably made things confusing.
Yeah.
But I know we went to see it at a drive-in theater. A drive-in theater was showing it, and that's how I saw it for the first time. But I for sure saw the originals. I for sure saw The Empire Strikes Back and A New Hope before I saw The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones.
Okay.
I can tell you that for certain. My parents are purists in that way. So they wanted me to see the good stuff before the new version.
Well, the reason why I ask, I think it depends on how someone first watched Star Wars, and it kind of, and I guess informs their opinion of it. It's if someone watched it in order, episode 1 all the way through in that order, or someone that already saw 4, 5, 6, and then went back to see the prequels. I feel like that kind of influenced which way they feel about either pair of trilogies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's probably how most people watched it. Is they watched it with probably, especially anybody born from 90 on, I'm assuming they probably saw it The Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and then they probably went back and they got into it. Or maybe they even saw The Phantom Menace and then got into it and then went and saw the first, the first, episode and everything. The technical first episode. like the originals. I that's probably how this generation came to be and saw it, which is why I think maybe they're a little bit more into like the Rogue One and and all of these newer ones, because I just love, and I even love like the feel, like the 80s feel of like The Empire Strikes Back and all of that. I just just seeing like how it looks. It's not super new age looking compared to what it is now, but like it's they didn't have the CGI and everything back then that they have now. So I just love this. I feel like it's pure. Watching it from the very beginning is pure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like that's why I think a lot of people, when they watch something newer, like for instance, if you've never seen a Star Wars before and all you've seen is the Rogue One, which I'm surprised that anything made sense to you if that was the case, and then they tried to go back and watch like A New Hope or something, I think that they wouldn't be able to sit through it. Some people, because it's not as it might not be as visually engaging because it's older.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I don't know.
Yeah. I guess it would be that, as far as just kind of seeing like, oh, well, this is an old movie, and then kind of looking at it from like looking at some of the newer movies now, they were like, oh,
like that.
Yeah, they don't make.
Looks silly.
Yeah. I've seen that from other people that have watched it, and that's kind of going to Empire Strikes Back. If I remember how you mentioned, you said you saw Empire Strikes Back first. Was that the first one you saw?
I feel like it might have been.
Okay.
Like I said, I was little, so
okay.
I don't. It's like asking like a drunk person, like what they did, like 2 weeks ago. Like,
okay.
I can maybe give you a little bit of information, but I feel like I might have. That's the forefront of my mind. So maybe I just like that movie better, or I honestly don't know.
Well, the reason why I asked is because when it comes to Empire Strikes Back, there's this video out of kids watching Empire Strikes Back and their reaction to when he said, Luke, I am your father. That part, the most iconic line of movie history. But and there's a video out, and just seeing all these kids' reactions, and I was gonna ask, like, did you have that reaction, or did you not really know what was going on? And so that's why I was asking that question.
Oh no, for sure. Especially because I was younger. I was watching the movie and I was sitting there because and this was before I was, my brother got me into and before I was able to read the novels and everything, and kind of get the backstory and the characters. You're watching it and you don't think there's any correlation really between the two. You just think that they're, one's the good side of the Force and he's super strong and he's going to go against the dark side of the Force with the darkest and strongest character, and that's kind of where the relation ends. And then when he reveals that he's his father, I was dumbfounded. I think I remember looking at my dad and going, huh? Where did that what? I think it was more of just like I was dumbfounded. I didn't see it coming. I can tell you that for sure.
I'm like, what?
Yeah, what in the world? Like, I was mind blown. And then finding out that Luke and Leia are siblings, and there's that kiss along the line, and I'm like, ew.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, you're going to regret that for the rest of your existence.
Yep. That's kind of one of those moments where I wish I was in the theater when that all happened. Just to see, be around everyone who kind of like, what? No. Or then like
everybody actually in Houston in a theater going, what? Popcorn being spilled, like drinks dropping to the floor, just out of people lose their grip on things. Maybe I'm over exaggerating it. Maybe I'm just like in my head that's how I would have been. Like, my popcorn would have just, like, dropped out of my hand. I would have been, like, shocked. But, yeah, and, like, one thing I always wondered, and I feel like this is, like, one of those questions that nobody really has an answer to except maybe, like, George Lucas. And I don't know if he ever answered it. I was always curious whether Darth Vader knew that Leia, like, at any point in time, knew Leia was his daughter. I was always, like, really curious about that, if he ever figured it out, like before the end, you know, because he knew Luke, and he, you know, like, did he, and then he goes, like, oh, sister, you know, but did he correlate that Leia was that sister, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I always wondered. Like, did they ever figure it out?
Well, you're talking about even after Return of the Jedi, or you talking about just in Empire Strikes Back?
In the Empire Strikes Back, like, because he dies, and you know, and you know, the life's draining out of him, and you know, they're having that little father-son moment that, you know, I guess we have, but I was always wondering, like, I was kind of sad that there was no scene where he kind of identifies Leia as his daughter, because he knew that a daughter existed, because Luke, like, he could feel it, I guess, through the Force, that Luke was concerned about her and that she existed. But you know what I'm trying to say? But, like, did he know that the princess he had originally captured was his kid?
Yeah.
You know, like that. If I were a parent, I would have been like, oh no.
Oh, I just kidnapped my kid.
Yeah, that could be frowned upon. She may not have good memories of me after that.
Yeah, you know.
Yep, and so that was part 1, and right after that, we're gonna go into part 2 tomorrow. So thanks everyone for listening, and I know we don't have too much time left, so I'm actually on my way to see The Last Jedi tonight, and so I guess I'll give a little bit of a review if I have time from everything with part 2. But like I said, thanks for listening, and I guess I'll say this now, I didn't know if I had enough time, but if you want to connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, it's all the same name, Trent Chat 24/7, and politichicks.com/author/Brian Bledsoe if you want to read some of my articles. So, and don't forget about the book, Politichicks: A Clearing Call to Political Activism, which is available on Barnes & Noble and Amazon. We are available on Google Play, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. And also just want to thank everyone for getting Trend Chat to 2,000 plays. Saw that come up this week. So definitely appreciate everyone listening. And just as I put on Facebook, now on to 1 million plays. Don't know when that's going to happen, but that's the goal right now. That's at least the first goal. Who knows where this goes? Maybe someone will hear this and think about, I don't know, putting me on something bigger or whatever. I don't know. Or maybe or maybe some of you are listening to this and like, it probably turned off in the first 5 minutes. In that case, you're not hearing this. So anyway, well, like I said, we'll come back tomorrow with part 2 of our Star Wars chat. And until then, we'll chat with you later.